Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and let's talk about the ending of Secret Invasion.
And together we'll make this planet safe for both our people.
So the series finale of Secret Invasion has thrown the Marvel Cinematic Universe into chaos, setting us up for Nick Fury's newest mission in the Marvels and a fight with a new Kree villain, Dar-Benn, as well as setting up Thunderbolt Ross for his long-awaited revenge in Captain America, Brave New World, and Phase 5's final film, The Thunderbolts. And a little later, we're going to talk about how we could see an unlikely alliance between Thunderbolt Ross and Den-Barr.
Do you want to form an alliance with me?
So for me, Secret Invasion, it was pretty underwhelming. I was really hoping that the show would be able to stick the landing and salvage the series, but
You're weak.
Not great, Bob.
But despite the series' anticlimactic ending, it did lay down some groundwork for what's to come in Phase 5 of the MCU. The world is in absolute chaos. Despite Fury and Gaia defeating Gravik to prevent a human-Skrull war from happening, it looks like that war is going to happen anyways.
And we will kill every last one of you.
President Ritson's reckless reaction to the Skrull invasion and attack on his life has lit a fire that I'm not sure could ever truly be stopped. The President of the United States just confirmed that shapeshifting aliens exist and labeled them as enemy number 1. In fact, he labeled all extraterrestrials as enemies of Earth.
I'm presenting to Congress for immediate emergency authorization a bill that designates all off-world-born species enemy combatants. What?
So we all knew that Secret Invasion would likely end with Fury going back to space. After all, that was spoiled in the Marvel's trailer. But now we know he's returning to space to begin talks with the Kree, who are interested in peace talks with the Skrulls, meaning that we could see the Skrulls get to migrate to planet Hala and live in harmony with the Kree. Now, this is pretty significant, considering that the Kree and the Skrulls were at war for a very long time. In Captain Marvel, we learned that unlike in the comics, the Skrulls were not the instigators in their war with the Kree.
My people lived as refugees ever since we resisted Kree rule and they destroyed our planet.
So it makes sense that the Kree would be open to redeeming themselves of their Skrull genocide. After Captain Marvel defeated Yon-Rogg and the Supreme Intelligence and exposed their lies and manipulation of the other Kree, I could see new leadership looking to rectify their past transgressions against the Skrulls.
But why can't the Skrulls just go live on the planet Thanos went on after the snap?
The snap radiation made it inhabitable to them.
The Skrulls were immune to radiation.
So Doug, what do you think about this? Doug, are you eating again at work?
No.
Buddy, you gotta stop that. You gotta break your stress eating habit.
I can't help it. The state of the world these days. Am I right?
You are right.
How did you stop stress eating? Did you use that vape?
Oh no, dude, this is not a vape. It's just an easy way to help me kick my oral fixation habits like stress eating. And it gives my hands something to do when I'm feeling anxious.
Or what is it?
Well, it's a naturally diffusive device called Fume. They're the sponsor of this video. It uses plants and behavioral science to help you trade out your negative habit for a positive one.
Is it fun?
Yes, it's really nice and completely harmless. Instead of pods that are filled with potentially harmful chemicals like a vape, Fume uses cores infused with plants like orange vanilla and raspberry lemon for delicious natural flavors. Like I said, this is not a vape. Look, it's not even electrical. Fume uses these plant-based cores with flavored air instead of vapor. Plus, it has adjustable airflow and is designed with these movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for calming your anxiety. Fume is helping me turn my negative habits into positive habits, and it makes switching easy and even fun. They have thousands of 5-star reviews from more than 100,000 customers who have used Fume to change their lives and switched when other solutions just didn't work. So head to tryfume.com/ScreenCrush and use the code ScreenCrush to save 10% when you get your Journey Pack today. The Journey Pack comes with 3 unique flavors and everything you need to finally be free of your bad habit. That's tryfum.com and use the code ScreenCrush to save an additional 10% off on your order today. Now back to what I was saying.
She's targeting every planet we call home.
So anyways, in the Marvels, we'll be meeting a new villain, Dar-Benn. Now in the comics, Dar-Benn was very displeased with the Kree's new leader and attempted to assassinate him and place blame on the Skrulls. I think this is exactly what we'll see taking place in the Marvels. A wartime character like Dar-Benn will be very critical of the Kree's new leader, as well as Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel, who she calls
The Annihilator.
Now she likely holds a big grudge against Captain Marvel for destroying the Supreme Intelligence and helping the Skrulls. So when Dar-Benn learns that the new Kree leadership is considering peace talks with the Skrulls, I wouldn't be surprised if we see her assassinate the new Kree leader and try to pin it on the Skrulls, as well as Earth and Captain Marvel, thus putting a stop to any peace talks. And it's worth mentioning Dar-Benn's resemblance to Ronan the Accuser, both wielding those pretty badass Cosmo Rod hammers.
Excuse me. Hello. That's my hammer you've got there.
The Kree and Xandar were once at war, but eventually signed a peace treaty and ended their conflict, but then came Ronan.
My government knows no shame. You Xandarians and your culture are a disease.
So it'd make sense if we saw Dar-Benn use a similar tactic to eliminate any discussions of peace. Now, even if the Marvels ends on a really positive note and we see Dar-Benn defeated, that doesn't mean that everything's going to be hunky-dory back on Earth. Even if the Skrulls leave Earth and join the Kree on planet Hala, that won't place the genie that Ritson released back in the bottle. It's been revealed to the American people that shape-shifting aliens have lived amongst them for decades. So even if they show hundreds of thousands of Skrulls boarding ships and leaving Earth, it won't matter. The die has been cast. Some percentage of the people on Earth will still live in constant fear and paranoia, and this paranoia is what will give Thunderbolt Ross the leverage he needs to become the most powerful man on the planet. President Ritson promised to kill every single Skrull, so if he has a change of heart and allows the Skrulls to live in peace, this would be the perfect opportunity for Thunderbolt Ross to step in and paint Ritson as weak and challenge him for the presidency. Captain America films are notoriously political, so getting to see an election take place would be pretty cool. We could see the former Secretary of State paint Ritson as feckless in his war against the Skrulls and promise that he will finish the war that Ritson started.
Former Secretary of State?
Well, yeah, I'm assuming he's no longer Secretary of State. He was gone for 5 years during the blip, so I would guess he was replaced during those 5 years. But hey, if he still is Secretary of State, that'd make him fourth in line for the presidency. So maybe we'll see him kill the president, vice president, president of the Senate, and Speaker of the House, and see himself sworn in as president, and then blame their deaths on the Skrulls, which will only add fuel to the fire. So whether Ross kills his way to the presidency or challenges Ritson in an election, I see him using the Skrull threat as an opportunity to create his own team of super people, the Thunderbolts. Civil War showed us that Ross was desperate to control the Avengers, and we can even go further back to see the Incredible Hulk when he said,
"As far as I'm concerned, that man's whole body is property of the U.S. Army."
And with the Avengers seemingly being MIA, Ross has all the more leverage to convince the public to accept his new team of heroes. Now, the original title for Captain America 4 was New World Order. This title implied that we'd see the government, aka President Thunderbolt Ross, go full authoritarian, implementing dystopian government control. And after the fire that Ritson started with his fear-mongering about the Skrulls, the populace may allow Ross to take control without much pushback, willingly surrendering their own basic rights and freedoms to an authoritarian dictator. A dictator who has disguised himself as some kind of noble leader protecting us from a threat that he knows no longer actually exists. And even if characters like Nick Fury, Captain Marvel, Captain America, and so on reveal to the world that the Skrulls are gone, it won't matter. With them being shapeshifters, the world can never be sure. And if they are gone, then Ross will use the argument that they could return. Now, personally though, I don't think the Skrulls are going to leave so easily. I think they're going to be a secret threat in the MCU for a very long time. And I'm not so sure that Ross intends to even stop at the presidency. In Civil War, we saw Ross leading an effort to put the Avengers under the thumb of the United Nations, overseeing more than 100 countries. A new world order is a real-world conspiracy theory that speculates that all world governments will unite as one and control the global populace. You've probably heard your uncle talk about that at Thanksgiving.
But here I come, the government.
So this could be a hint that Ross not only intends to make himself leader of the US, but of the entire planet, using the threat of a global Skrull invasion and his new team to replace the Avengers and protect the planet as leverage to rise to power.
Wait, didn't they change the title to Brave New World?
Yes, after some pushback regarding the title New World Order and its connection to real-world anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, they opted to change the title. But the title Brave New World also points toward themes of a dystopian future. There's a 1930s novel by the same name that showcases a dystopian and authoritarian one-world government that does away with things like individuality. I could easily see Thunderbolt Ross using the phrase Brave New World as a campaign slogan to manipulate the people into surrendering their freedoms and disguising this as patriotism. And let's not forget that Ritson declared war on all life forms not from Earth, and that could include New Asgard. After all, New Asgard has become a kind of alien spaceport on Earth, so the USA could declare that this state of aliens helped other aliens enter the borders of our planet.
Jeez, that's getting real political.
It sure is. In the past, we've talked about similarities between Ross and Norman Osborn from the Secret Invasion comics. Following Secret Invasion, Osborn was made director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and put in charge of the world's security. This led to him forming his own team of villain Avengers, kind of similar to what Ross is doing with the Thunderbolts right now. And what was the event that brought down Norman Osborn? When he tried to lay siege to New Asgard, which at the time was on Earth. If Brave New World is going to be a truly global film, then it would need to address New Asgard in some way, and not just in a lazy news ticker like the one we saw in No Way Home. That ticker read that there was political turmoil in New Asgard, but in Thor: Love and Thunder,
There is no conflict.
And real quick, I want to discuss the parallels here between Thunderbolt Ross and the Marvel's villain Dar-Benn. They're both seemingly xenophobic war tyrants. So what if we get to see an Earth-level villain and a cosmic-level villain team up?
To do what? Kill Skrulls?
Well, there's that, but no, what if they created a fake war? Wartime leaders are notorious for harboring unity amongst their people. It's human nature to stick with your own when presented with a threat. For example, after the 2000 election between Al Gore and George W. Bush, the country was very torn. It came down to one state and like 500 votes, and don't even get us started on the whole hanging chads thing in the Supreme Court. The point being, 50% of the country was furious with the other 50% and vice versa. But then, 9/11 happened. This attack on our country by another country, for the most part, united the American people and gave President Bush a very high approval rating throughout his first term. The country was very divided, but became united when we encountered what was viewed as a common enemy. So, with the Skrulls not being as serious a threat to the people of Earth or planet Hala, what if Ross and Dar-Benn decide to be each other's enemy?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Well, see, Ross and Dar-Benn want the same thing: isolation and control derived from fear. Ross could agree to have Earth pretend to be a threat to planet Hala, and if Dar-Benn takes over planet Hala, she could agree to serve as a threat to planet Earth. They could send each other threatening messages and launch pre-coordinated attacks on each other's planets, all to paint the facade of a war that will make their people fall in line behind their respective leaders and surrender full control, sort of like how Emperor Palpatine played both sides of the war in the Star Wars prequels, which manipulated the Republic to grant him the role of Emperor of the entire galaxy.
The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire!
And we could see Ross turn into Red Hawk and go to space to talk about this evil plan with Dar-Benn.
Right? That'd be awesome. Maybe we could even see him stay in his Red Hawk form permanently, like Professor Hulk in Endgame.
Red Hawk president? Sign me up.
Now, we do have a video coming up soon about the future of Gaia and her new god status in the MCU. I mean, you could argue that she's now the most powerful being in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, so we have to assume that she'll likely have a big role to play going forward.
Do you think she's going to be a Thunderbolt?
Well, I mean, it's possible, but I kind of doubt it. I'd assume that the Thunderbolts are going to fall for Ross's fear-mongering, at least at first. I mean, why else would they join his team? But I don't see Gaia falling for Ross's lies, especially because, she's a Skrull. I think what's more likely to happen is that Gaia will become the face of Ross's smear campaign against the Skrulls. Not only are there shape-shifting aliens amongst us, but there's one with the powers of almost every Avenger. Ross can use this to scare the world into falling in line. And he can also use her to bring together the Thunderbolts, making the argument that Gaia has too much powerful for a single person and she can't be trusted. So the Thunderbolts may actually be about them hunting down Gaia and bringing her to Ross. But then of course they'll realize that Ross is the real bad guy, he'll Hulk out, and they'll turn against him and have a big old third act smackdown. It writes itself.
But wasn't Gaia recruited to be part of a team or something like Yelena and John Walker?
Yes, but not the same team. This is likely a setup for another Marvel team of Marvel heroes, MI-13, a UK-based team of enhanced individuals with the mission of protecting Britain from superhuman, mystical, and extraterrestrial threats. In the comics, this team includes characters such as Blade and the Black Knight, a duo that we saw teased in the post-credits scene in The Eternals.
Sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?
Oh, so it's another team of super people Marvel's teasing, but we likely won't see for another 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, basically.
Awesome.
And just a reminder, everyone, to change your bad habits today. Head to tryfume.com, that's F-U-M, and use the code ScreenCrush to save an additional 10% off your order today. But that's just my thoughts on the ending. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.